Hello and welcome back to another review for today's video. I've got the Gemmy Airblown Inflatable Peanuts Nativity Globe. I bought this off of a friend of mine, Jeremy Mullins, about a year ago, just now getting around to doing this review. But this is the prototype version of the one that sold at BJ's back in 2014. This one is a bit smaller and to me just does not compare. We'll get into the details of why this is nowhere near as good as that one, but for now, here it is. This is part of the box. This is the only thing I have left of the actual, prototype box is this image and just this piece of cardboard. I've got the inflatable laid out in front of me. As you can see here, you've got Sally up at the top, and then of course the rest of the globe. We did a trade. I gave him the 2018 black cat that I had. I had really no use for it anymore, and I also prefer the original. I'm still trying to track down that original black cat, and then I paid some other price for it. It is always cool to own the prototype model, but in this case, I really don't think it's near as good as owning that 2014 BJ's one. That is such a great Charlie Brown globe. I want it. This one, just a little inferior, I will say. Now, this prototype model has a YEF 125. I'm not sure what fan the BJ's one has, but I would assume it's also a 125. I just know for sure this one is a YEF 125. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and plug it in. I'd say it's pretty much confirmed 8 foot tall. I think these ceilings are about 9. I'm at a different location currently at my aunt and uncle's house, so that is why the setting looks a bit different than usual. Typical of pretty much any globe, the inside does not get quite as much air, so there is some adjusting that has to take place, especially with the characters. I've actually had to pull the nativity roof towards the right because when I first inflated it, it was really bad. Everything was just slanted and it looked really horrendous inside. So what I've done is I've taken a clothespin right there. I've attached some fishing line to it and then attached it to another clothespin. I could have just tied it around the light, but I attached it to another clothespin and just hooked it onto one of those lights. It's hard to see with this clear material, it kind of blurs everything, but you kind of know what I've done. And you know what, that really did the job well. It looks very good. It's just the characters that need some work for sure. Now, speaking of the characters, this is really interesting. A major difference, probably the biggest difference other than the size compared to the released version, is the fact that it is baby Jesus that they are all looking at, not Woodstock. So you are mixing licensed characters with religious ones, and that's a little odd to me. That could have been a reason why the stores did not select it and wanted to change. It is a great inflatable. Of course, a store would pick it, but it could have been that little reason. I don't know. That's just a guess of mine. But it is cool that I own it. I think it's kind of funny, and I'm glad that I own the prototype version and it has that specific feature. Also, I can't imagine that on the 9.5 foot one, Sally is that much larger than the inside of the globe, because if you look, let me stand about at this level, I would say. She almost makes up all the way to the middle of the star. If we were to take her, place her in the globe, she would be roughly that height. I'd say she's about 2 feet tall. Charlie Brown is maybe 14, 16 inches tall, give or take. Does not look good. It's very off scale and is certainly noticeable. That 1.5 foot extra that the 2014 one has, I believe fixes that problem. This is a prototype, and by all means, I am glad it stayed a prototype. It also says Merry Christmas, not Christmas pageant. Christmas pageant, much more unique, pertains a lot better to the actual inflatable. This right here, very generic. It is hand painted, as you can see, being indicative of a prototype model, but there you go. And then your light show feature at the back. Take a look at that real fast. You've got your zipper there as well, very large zipper, so it makes it easy to get inside. Doing that little modification I had to make to the nativity part was very simple. And then you've got a tether attachment here, very square. It's kind of what they use for these globes, is a square tether loop, it seems. Go to the other side, you'll see the other one. Also have your air pockets up at the top as well, right behind Sally. And then she's got her LED lights that go, start out right there, her chest, and then one in her head or, you know, behind her face right there. Taking a better look at the lights inside, you'll see one in the star and then another one kind of to the left. I don't believe that these are in their correct locations. I'm honestly not sure. It's a prototype, so it's hard to compare to anything else because it's almost one of a kind. I don't know how many of these things they actually made, but I can't imagine that number exceeds 5 or so. But then there is another light there, and then, you know, spread throughout the characters. They might weigh it down a little bit. That's probably why they're leaning, especially with C7s. Like on the nativity scene that I have on Yard Inflatables, I bought it from, I think, 2 years ago or so. I had to remove all the C7s from there, and I put a spotlight on it because the YF80 was not strong enough to actually keep Snoopy up with the C7 inside. And I think it's kind of the same concept that's being applied here. All of the weight is a lot less, being those little small LEDs. It's not a big weight of the shell and the bulb of the C7. I honestly have no plans of displaying this in future years. It's just kind of become a collector's piece at this point. The grandfather clock is one I want to hold on to just as much, but it was absolutely vital to this year's display. You will know why very shortly, but for now, thank you all so much for watching this review, and I'll catch you later. Peace out. Bye.